Hello, Kristen.
And Lorraine, how are you?
I'm doing well. Doing well. I'm not surprised you're the first one here.
Yeah.
I find
But
that I
don't
find
be
that
surprised if I have to run to the bathroom every so often because drinking a gallon of water a day is no joke, as I'm sure you're aware.
uh, how how you doing on your goals? Day 6.
Well, I'll be. I think today is going to be day 7 once we're done. But
Is it
yeah,
day 7?
yeah, yeah. I think I downloaded this app uh called Challenges and was able to set up everything on that. And
Really?
yeah,
Oh
super.
my gosh, I was trying to figure out how to make my own app so I could
Yeah,
do something like that.
yeah. Check it out. It's called Challenges and it's very, very simple to use. And you can set up your goals in a couple different ways. So I have some that I'm able to like track my progress. So, like my fiber intake, I know where I'm at any given time, water.
Yeah.
Then others are just sort of like check off that, like, did I do my dream journaling? Yes, check off. But the others are, associated to the actual quantity of the goal. So, um,
Wow.
and then it,
That's
shows
so
you.
good to know.
Yeah, I don't recall if I had to subscribe, but even if I did, I it was probably minimal
Yeah.
uh, investment. Um,
Yeah, like the
yeah,
75, I did 75 hard, it has its own but you can't customize it.
yeah,
And in order to go to the next day, you have to do the things that they want you to.
um, yeah.
Like, you have to upload a picture.
That sounds hard. 75 sounds well hard. It sounds kind of miserable. Look, I had never heard of it until your post, and I went and looked it up. I was like, "Whoa, that's pretty extreme."
Most people haven't heard of it, which is surprising.
Hmm.
Yeah. I've seen people post about it over the years, but it's the first time I've done something like
Yeah,
it, and it really hasn't been, like, my kinda thing
yeah,
to do something like
right.
that.
Yeah.
But, the person that was doing it was a spiritual teacher. I had 2 spiritual groups doing it at the same time,
Okay.
and I was like, I and I knew that I needed a little something, um yeah, just, like, the idea of, like, "Oh, I get to do this with the group and have the
Yeah,
accountability." Like, I was like, "Okay, I'm doing it," because I
yeah.
know the power of, like, writing a wave together,
Mhm.
particularly if it's like, "Oh, I highly respect that person.
Yeah. Right.
They know what they're talking about. They're a go-getter, like, I wanna ride that wave with them."
Yeah. Right. Do you think there's something about I mean, that program, I think it's established goals, right? So, like, there's no
It's
customization.
established, yeah.
Yeah. It
I tweaked it for myself a bit,
yeah.
but some people are super strict.
Mhm.
The gal that invited me to do it,
Mhm.
she got banned from the Facebook group
Yeah. Yeah.
because of something so small,
Right.
so small.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and she's like, "You know, I'm not gonna count that," and so they just banned her.
Wow. That's a lot.
I know, they get really agitated and up in arms and strict, and, that's just me if you couldn't tell.
One of the things that well, maybe I should
Hi,
wait
Tiffany.
for sharing, but, one of the things that I appreciated about the goals that I set up, which I didn't realize until afterwards, is I didn't do any elimination goals, which is typically what I do, right? Like, and it's like,
Mhm.
no sugar, no caffeine, no this,
Yeah,
no that.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
didn't do it. And the psychology around it is quite different, mm,
Right.
which is good.
Which is what I suggested. That was my suggestion. I was like, "I suggest that you don't do elimination goals."
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I
I've done, and I get very like rigid and cranky about it. And now it's just like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
adding things.
I
Post.
didn't want your food goals to take over your mind and your
Yeah.
life because I have found whenever I do some sort of strict regime that's, where there's restriction,
Mhm.
all I can do is think, like, that's the the mental chatter, the food noise, that's what it's called, the food noise is all day long.
Yes.
And so instead, it's just like, "Okay, I just need to make sure that I'm getting what I need, and then
Mhm.
I'm not gonna think about anything else."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, hi, Tiffany. I wanna find out how you're
Right.
doing and your trip and everything, but I wanna stay I'm really curious, Kristen,
Mhm.
what's different? You said it's a different mindset. What's different between, like, the restriction, like you used to do it, and the non-restriction?
Um, yeah, I just think the mindset is different from like I'm not denying myself things.
Mhm.
I'm just making sure that I'm incorporating things. So again, it's a different mindset, it's a different energy. And
What's that energy like for you? Like, what's the difference between those energies?
well, the restriction can feel like punishment, right? And um, you know, my nutrition goal was to have 25 grams of fiber a day. Um, that's not super challenging, although it makes you very aware of how often you're not getting that much, right? So it's not even like a huge amount. So it's easy for me to be like, oh, I'm drinking a lot of water and I'm making sure I have the recommended daily allowance for fiber. I'm not like, superwoman in this effort. And by the way, I was just saying to my daughter, I have 9 grams of fiber to go and I'm not hungry. Like, what am I going to do? So, you
I was
know,
wondering about that because
yeah,
it's like, okay, like, so, like, if are
yeah.
you gonna have to eat when you're not hungry? Like,
Yeah. So, you know what? I'm drinking
learn
this.
yeah,
Has
you
a
learn something.
fiber powder and it has a greens powder in it, and it's 9 grams of fiber. So it's not like I'm forcing food in my mouth. But yeah, so I think the mindset and the energy of elimination or restriction can feel punishing.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and and this does not feel punishing.
How do
Um,
how does it feel?
it feels like building healthy habits. It feels I think I put in a text that I'm just like, it's like the gift of consistency I'm giving myself. And ultimately, it's building self-trust because I'm keeping my word to myself.
Yeah.
I do like the game part, like, that will motivate me. In fact, I'm sorry if I'm, like, taking over here, um, but, Sunday night, I still had, like and it was, like, 9:30 or 9 o'clock, and I still had a bunch of things I needed to do, and I said to, Max, I was just like, "Well, you know what? If I if I don't do it now, I'm starting over early, and that's less painful than starting over, 2 weeks from now."
I know, right?
And he goes, "Kristen," like, because he's been with me long enough to know, like, whenever I'm committed to something, I get very like, I will do this. So
Mhm.
he's like, "That's not you, and just, just sit down, do your things." And I was like, "You know what? He's right. I'm not gonna." It's building a muscle of stopping letting myself off the hook, but in a way that is, um, um, enriching or nourishing as opposed to, um, again, letting myself off the hook, like, I'm gonna eat some sugar or I'm not supposed to, like that kind of thing. So,
I love the words that you're using because I used some of these when I was, like, putting all the marketing out there because I'm like, "This is what this is about."
yeah.
Right? This
Mhm.
is not about this is not another thing about depriving yourself and restricting yourself and being mean and, like, I don't know if you know David Goggins, just like, you know,
Mhm.
this is about you used, enriching, you used
Yeah.
nourishing. You
Mhm.
said it's a gift to
Mhm.
myself.
Yeah.
Is what was coming to me when you were talking, before you said gift, I was thinking, "Oh, you're receiving." Like,
Yes.
I'm not depriving, that's a take.
Mhm,
Instead, I'm giving to myself. I'm not taking
mhm.
away, I'm giving to myself. I'm giving
Right.
myself what I need, and that is a gift.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
love that you are getting that,
Yeah. Um,
that you are receiving that.
yes. Yeah. And yeah, it feels like I'm honoring myself, and
Mhm.
um, that's a nice feeling to have.
Yeah,
Um,
awesome, awesome. And honoring, look at all these great words that you're using. How's it been for you,
no.
Tiffany? I saw you were out of town and I was like, "Oh, how's the show going while you're traveling?"
Yeah. Um, my trip was absolutely fantastic. It was very enjoyable, and so I went to Gaia, the channel. I went to the Gaia Sphere, and I went to their immersions conference there. And so I was what?
I didn't realize that's where you were.
Oh yeah. And it was super fun. It was amazing. So I was like, how are we gonna get these foods in? Like, that was, like, what I was worried about, and then not worried about, but I was just conscious of it, especially with, like, flying and just, all the things.
Mhm.
However, it was, like, all presented everywhere in front of me, and I was like, "Oh, just be aware that it is all right here," you know? So, like, at
Aw.
the hotel for breakfast, they have all the little fruits, and so I was like, "Well, I'm grabbing this." Well, then when you go to Gaia, they're like, "Oh, here, we feed you all this nutritional food. Would you like these roasted vegetables? Would you like" and I was like, "Thank you. This is perfectly aligned." So,
So supported.
yeah, and so, those days are deep because you're in the subconscious the whole whole time you're there pretty much, and so, um,
And you were getting your personal development.
I was getting my personal development, I was getting my creativity when I was going home, and then, like, we're doing a lot of movement stuff, just interaction exercises, and there was a hour and a half lunch break, and so we just went and walked, like, the labyrinth, and we went and checked out the studio, so it was all there, and I was like, "This is great," and so, yeah, I'm back on day 1 because yesterday, after it all, I just crashed, and I was like, "I cannot do one more thing right now. I just need to rest," so and I'm fine with that because what I was concerned about showed up and wasn't even to be concerned about. So, that was a huge learning thing for me. Um, like, just let it be, surrender to everything will be provided. So,
Everything will be provided.
everything will be provided. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, this 30-day experience that we're on, it's I started thinking about what you all thought my role as coaches. I'm calling Vanessa that way. Are you there?
I'm here.
You gonna come on?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'll be there.
All right, bye. She was sleeping. I knew she was sleeping. Um, and I was talking about something.
What
What
kind
your
of
role is,
role
it was.
Oh yeah.
what we think your role is?
Yeah. And and I was like, "Oh, I need to be clear that I'm not doing accountability coaching. I'm
Mm,
not here to hold anyone's feet to the fire and be like, why aren't you getting your goal? Get your goal." Like, no. The goals are there to see what comes up,
Yep.
to see how you play the game, right? And for you, you're like, "You know what? I'm crashing. I'm going to bed
Yeah.
and I'm going to start over at day 1." And if you had pushed through and not gone through day 1, you would have had a certain experience.
Yep.
and doing what you do, you had an experience.
Yep.
In that, was there any guilt, shame, negative emotions, anything that came up at all?
Um, well, yeah, actually, so I have, 3 friends that are doing 75 hard right now, and so I'm, like, doing the opposite version, just like we were talking about with the, mm, coming from, like, the maintenance and just honoring the spaces and, um, just it feels peaceful to me. What I'm noticing is that, like, I am already doing these things, but what I like is that I know that I'm doing these things. Like I'm aware that I'm doing these things intentionally, right? There's an intention behind it. And I want to make sure that I'm meeting those and understanding what I'm doing in those spaces instead of just kind of floating around all day and um, just being creative and thinking. But when I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this for this certain amount of time, like it's more of a focused in laser, like,
So you're going from feeling like you're floating around all day to feeling focused and lasered in.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah,
What's the difference between those two?
it's that piece. It's that, um, I guess maybe confidence in like, I am doing what I want to be doing. And I know that this is what I'm choosing for myself. Like just being aware of what I am choosing, right? Like I'm choosing to do the fruits and vegetables. I'm choosing to get this amount of water. I'm choosing this instead of just blindly like going and doing, it gives me more of a structure feeling because I'm a big floater. So it makes me feel more structured, more grounded.
What does structure and grounded and laser focused do for you?
And it allows me to express what I want to express instead of having, like, I have like a lot of thoughts of like, oh, we could do this, we could do that, we could do that. But when I'm like laser focused, I'm like, okay, so I'm focusing in on my retreat at this moment. And I'm, what are my activities here? It's just, it feels peaceful. Like I'm, like, I guess we were talking the other day, like it's that stability. Like I feel stable.
So what I'm hearing you say, correct me, if I'm
Mhm.
wrong, I'm hearing you say that doing what you want, doing what you're choosing,
Mhm.
or choo- choosing what you want and doing it, that brings you peace. That's peaceful
Yes.
in some way. What's important? What's so important about having that peace?
Um, I, s- my body has ran in chaos for a long time. And I feel what peace feels like, and I like that, and that's what alignment feels like for me. Like that's the space that I want to be in. That's where I feel safe. That's where I feel
Mhm.
like grounded and harmonized.
So that peaceful, safe, nice space.
Mhm.
What does that feel like, look like, sound like?
It feels it feels like joy. It feels exciting. Um it feels freeing. It looks mm, well, what I'm seeing right now is just white, um, like the color white. So just maybe pure.
Mhm. or white.
Mm. Yeah.
What's coming up for me, I don't know if this resonates at all, but what I was hearing was like a clean slate.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. That is, mm, yeah,
What does a clean slate represent to you, Tiffany? And you can go back and watch this, by the way. So,
sure. Um, a clean slate, for me, that feels like just showing up in my authentic self, not being, um, like I just feel like I have a new beginning and just expressing who I am, not conforming to what I thought I was or what I think I am or what others think I am, just coming into myself. Yeah.
and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Everything that like you two are right on track, ahead of track.
Mhm.
And you do have a new beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally
Hmm.
have a new beginning
Yeah.
with that transplant
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
and a clean slate.
Yeah. Like when you said that, I was like, in the solar plexus, I was like, that's it.
Right there.
That's what that is.
Yeah. I love all of this, connection to the
Yeah.
body that's happening with both of your shares today. Hey, Catherine. Yay! We get to see Catherine's lovely face. As I was, doing all these edits to the videos this week, Samira was like, Catherine, I can't see you, but I'm sure you're a beautiful, attractive woman. And I was like, if only she knew. So, Kristen, I'm wondering, like, just hearing that, everything that was coming up for Tiffany, what was that like for you?
Well, it was very relatable. Um, and, you know, similarly, I can be kind of floaty as well. And since I stopped working in September, my days can be very floaty. And so that was one of the reasons why I was drawn to this particular program. So putting some structure in place and some routine in place in my days, which I know I both push back against because it's become very clear to me that most of my structure and routine was never self designed until this time. So that's both beautiful and opening and also like wildly scary. It can feel like you're just like flapping around in the wind a little bit. So, so yeah, it was very relatable, but it's been very interesting for me where resistance is coming up, less so in, um, getting the fiber and drinking all this water. And just so you're all aware, for many years, my New Year's resolution was to hydrate and I could never stick with it. And so this is
And you're doing it.
huge. I've literally never, I was like, I don't like water. I can't, like whatever.
Okay.
This,
So what's different? What's different now?
um, well, one thing that's different is this year's, as opposed to making a New Year's resolution, I picked a word for the year. I did that last year as well. And my word this year was consistency. So, um, and I mentioned in my comment that I'm giving myself the gift of consistency by sticking with these goals that, by the way, I drafted. So again, it's a different spin on, work goals were not really drafted by me. And, you know, for
Mhm.
many years when you're growing up, you're going to school, the structure of your days and your time is related to like your family structure, your school structure, what have you. So, this is by my own design. And that's where it's, really, again, I use the word nourishing, um, really supportive. And so tapping into a sense of self trust, right? I'm keeping my word to myself that I made to myself. Um, and it's interesting. I like the idea of I don't really need others for the accountability piece. It's like I'm being accountable to myself. So that feels like the agency and the autonomy there is really good.
Agency, autonomy, and earlier you said, self-trust, helping with
Yeah, right. I'm I've given myself my word and I'm keeping my word to myself, which again is like, touches on integrity, right?
yeah.
So, um,
Because if you can't trust yourself, who can you trust?
well, exactly. It's like I feel like there's so many different words that can be associated and are inserted into that sentence structure, right? Like if you don't love yourself, you can't really love others, right? If you don't trust yourself, you can't really trust others. So there's any number of like fill in those blanks and it still applies. Um, what I have had some internal resistance come up to is the fact that I've added structure or some rigidity around creative pursuits. So things that I have been, I'll spend hours journaling or creative writing but it's like because it's outside of anything. Like it's just sort of this, kind of dilettante pursuit which makes me feel good, but there's been no parameters around it. So now that I have to do it,
Mhm.
that's where I'm feeling a little bit like kind of there's been times where I'm like, it feels a little bit more like a chore. Um,
Mhm.
but but prior to starting this, I would do it some days and I wouldn't do it others. And now I'm like, I'm doing it every day, which again, I know is um, the consistency is sort of again an additive.
So you start off, there's some resistance there. You went like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
I wanna look at that in a second. Um, but then I'm curious, like, once you get into it, and you're doing it every day, what is it like once you're doing it and you do it
Yeah.
day and the next day and the
It,
next
it's like going to the gym, right? The hardest part is going there. Right?
but I mean,
Once you're there, you're fine. And so
feel like to like does it change that quality where it's like, oh, it's taking like you said something along the lines of it's taking something away from it, the fact that it's structured and I have to do it. Once you start doing it, is it still like that or does it change?
it dissipates.
It dissipates.
Yeah.
God
It dissipates.
dissipates. And what is it once it dissipates, what does it turn into?
Um, it's it's more like flowing out of me versus like, what am I gonna write next kind of thing. It's it's just
Flows out.
starting it, which is the hard part. Um, and yeah, so um that's just been curious to me. I would have thought like again, getting all this water into my body would be the really hard part that I'd be resisting. And I'm not. I'm like, I feel so much better. And um,
Yeah. Makes a big difference.
yeah. And not, you know, craving junk food and, like, so I'm already physically feeling the benefits from the hydration goal and certainly the nutrition goal as well.
Beautiful.
Uh, so it,
Well, we'll remember that feeling that like because we're gonna come back to that later.
yeah. But right. So to kind of put structure around some things that have been very free form and freeing for me after, many, many years of a career that, again, I felt like my tasks were and my goals and my time was not my own. So that's been
Was ownership and agency.
right. Right.
Nice to be able to take that back.
Mhm.
Take it back. Give it back.
Right. 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 Both.
Work to work with the words that were coming for you earlier.
Both and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Catherine, how's it going? No,
You're
you're
on mute.
muted. There you go.
Sorry.
Hi.
Maybe.
Question for you, Kristen.
Yeah.
What was it exactly that you meant when you said it dissipates? What did you mean? Like what dissipate? I'm sorry. I
Yeah. No, it's
didn't
fine.
understand that.
The sort of feeling of like resistance that came up to,
Oh, to not do your goals?
yeah, it was related to my journaling and creative writing goal in that
Okay.
when I added framework and structure around it, it felt a little less flowy for me. So I had some resistance to
So it was
starting
the
it. And then
resistance.
once I
Okay.
started writing, that energy would sort of dissipate and I'd
Okay.
find
Fade away. Fade away.
my way. Yeah.
Kind of Okay.
Mm.
like last week, Catherine, when you would put your attention on the heaviness of your heart, and by giving it attention, like actually doing it rather than trying to do something different, like you were trying to imagine confidence. I'm like, no, just feel the heaviness. And just by being with the heaviness, it just kind of like faded a little, kind of the same thing, similar. Okay. So, how have things been with your goals, Catherine? Truthfully? Oh, okay. So that right there, I want you to for that. I want you to remember that. We're going to come back to that later. Okay, but yeah, go ahead. Truthfully, I have not been doing very good. I haven't been counting, but I'm looking at my list right now. I've probably been getting my hydration in. Probably. But I haven't like
Hold on.
been counting. Oh, okay. You haven't been counting. Yeah, but so we don't know. So we don't know if you got your golden. I'm sure I get the 12, the minimum, or what I said, the 12. Yes. The hydration in. So I want you, again, I want you to be set up for success. So I want you to know you're getting your goal. It's been hard because when I started this, it was like right when I got back from vacation, and which was, it started Tuesday and I got back Sunday night. Catherine, I don't need to hear like the reasoning.
Yeah.
No, I'm just telling you the
Sorry.
truth. And then I went out of town
I
again.
know.
Catherine, don't need to hear the reasonings, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to make sure that your goals are in alignment with what you actually want, right? Because
Yeah.
you put a lot of things in your goals and you put in a restriction goal, which is more challenging, but it's there to show you something because you decided to put it there. And so what does not being clear about your water goal and if you're getting it or not, what does that do for you? Um, well, it makes me question, did I get them all in? But as I'm talking about it, I'm like, well, I have to get it in because I know how many times like I fill my cup up at the office. And then when I'm at home and I fill it up. What is it? So what does it do for you to be unclear about whether you're getting a goal or not? What does it do for you? Um, I mean, I guess it causes Mhm. Like, um, I don't know. It just stay with it. What does it do for you? Hesitation is not the word I'm looking for, but just questions. So it did I meet that goal? Did I not meet that goal? You know? Causes questions, yeah. Uncertainty, not knowing, confusion. Would you agree with all Mhm. Mhm. So that's what it's doing for you. How does that benefit you to be in confusion, uncertainty, not knowing? How does that benefit you? Take your time, really think about that. Um, Uncertainty, You don't need to
Yeah.
write you don't need to write it down. You can go back. Huh? You don't need to write it down. You can come back if you want to. Trying to do my little notes here. I know. That's your mind wanting to take you out of the process. Um, how does that benefit you to be in confusion, uncertainty? I mean, it definitely obviously there's no benefit there, because it's not positive direction in wanting to meet these goals that I've written down. So it's Yeah. So it not doesn't a positive direction. Logically, it doesn't seem like it's a positive direction. Yeah. And yet, when I asked you what it's doing for you, that was your answer. Mm. So how does it benefit you to stay in confusion in your life and not knowing and I mean, it's definitely a better feeling inside without, the confusion of or uncertainty of additional things in your life that you're in control of or that I'm in control of. Mhm. So how does it benefit you? Doesn't benefit me. How would you feel if I pulled the room, our Zoom room, to see if anyone else had ideas how maybe that's benefiting you and you can kind of try that on? How would you feel about that? Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Kristen, Tiffany, Vanessa, anything popping up for you?
What popped up for me was not taking responsibility of like the confusion. You're just like just allowing for me, like it just allows for confusion to happen and not taking responsibility that I'm creating that confusion.
Mhm. And and I'll address this to you. You were in Catherine's shoes, right? And you were able to avoid taking responsibility. What would that do for you? How would that benefit you?
Mm. Well, what I would do was I would be like, oh, I tried that and it didn't work. And then I would just keep going on.
Mhm. And and what
That would be my answer.
Yeah. And so when you're like, "Oh, I tried that and it didn't work." How is that a benefit? Like you're
Oh,
you're doing great.
yeah. Um, but yeah, that would be it. I'd be like, oh, it just doesn't work. Like I've tried it all and it doesn't work. So I wouldn't take responsibility that it's me making the choice to
Yeah.
hold on to my goal.
Lets you off the hook.
Yeah, exactly.
What's it like hearing that, Catherine? Mhm. No, I agree. You know, it's just, and I'm not trying to use it as an excuse, but it's true. When you're out of town and what you're doing throughout the day is kind of out of your control if you're with other people, you know? You're not setting your schedule per se and where you're going to eat and what you can eat and so forth. It makes it harder. Can make it harder. You know who else was out of town this week? Who? Honey.
I was.
Who are you out of town with?
I was out of town with my friend.
So,
My girl. Yeah.
Catherine, nice. I don't want you to think that I'm attacking you. I'm concerned that maybe you think I'm attacking you in some way. And what I talked to Kristen and Tiffany about earlier is I'm not I'm coaching, but I'm not here to hold your feet to the fire. I'm not here to be an accountability coach like at the gym. It's like, come on, you gotta do this. Like whether you do your goals or not, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not here to make sure that you do your goals. Um, what I do care about is what is coming up for you in the process and seeing what's in there, right? Because I don't know about Vanessa, but there's only one person in this room that is on day 6. No, no, no. Day
7.
day 7. Day 7. Only one person in this room is on day 7. Tiffany had to start over. I had to start over. I was like, "Oh my gosh. I forgot one little thing and I didn't remember till the next day." And I made it through 75 hard. And on day 5, I tripped on my own program, right? So, it's not like, um, any of us are perfect and you're messing up or there's something wrong with you. What we're wanting to do is take a look at, what is driving us? What's motivating us? So that we can grow and have something different. And, when I reflect back on what you said you wanted out of the program, why you're doing this, you wanted to improve that relationship with yourself. You wanted to improve your trust in yourself and know that you can follow through, trust yourself that you can do this, that you can believe in yourself. Those were all things that you said, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
When I see something comes up that looks like something's getting in the way of you having that, I'm just wanting to kind of be like, What is that? What is that thing that's getting in the way of you having what you want?" And twice now, because it came up last week too, this confusion program came up. It's that might be a little jargony, but it's ways we keep ourselves confused, thinking we don't know something. Like when a lot of answers come, I don't know, I don't know. It's us keeping ourselves in the dark for some reason. There's some reason and some purpose behind it, and we're gonna get to the bottom of that. Yeah, yeah. What's it like to hear that? Um, I mean, it's good to hear it. Mhm. Um, builds confidence, knowing I can do this, Yeah. you know, especially since it's a kind of fresh week, you know, just trying to get my energy back because I haven't been feeling good, which I told you that. Oh, you haven't been feeling good. So just achy, something going on. Got it. Got it. So let me ask you this. From today forward until April 10th. We got 4 weeks. 4 weeks of this. I know I told you a different date, Kristen, because I was counting 4 weeks. I still don't get it in my head how 30 days isn't 4 weeks. I still don't get it. It's actually 5 weeks. And because Kristen's going to be going on vacation the final week.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
and so we'll see how strong you're able to finish while you're on vacation. Yeah. And so looking out the next 4 weeks through April 10th, is there anything that could get in the way of you sticking through this to the end and getting your goals? Are you going out of town? You have like an all day event where you just know you're not going to be able to do stuff?
Me?
Yep.
I don't think I'm going out of town anymore. No. My all-day event is getting up at 6:30 in the morning and getting home at 6 or 6:30 at night from work. So that takes a lot, and especially when you haven't been feeling good like I haven't this week.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so what I hear you saying is that there's no more trips. So there's no more excuses. Is that right?
shouldn't be any more excuses.
Or I should say, I don't even want to say it like that. There's no more reason. There's no more reasons for you to fall back on excuses. Okay.
Mhm.
And so what are you on day 1 today? What day are you on?
Well, tomorrow will have to be day 1 because I won't have time to do my final stop after we get done with our call tonight.
You sure about that?
Probably. Or I'll be eating a really late dinner.
Well, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
Marissa told me the same thing last week. And then once we started breaking things down, she's like, no, I can do it. I'm going to do it. And she did it. And she's on the East Coast. So it's an hour later. So are you on day 1 or 2 then?
Day 1.
But today is day 1. Got it.
Yep.
So you can finish out today with the goals as they are and have day 1. Or I want you to consider whether these goals are in alignment, because that could be the other reason why you're not following through, that they're not really in alignment, that you're reaching too far. Either because there's a couple of reasons. Either you're choosing goals that you think you should choose, because that's what you're supposed to do. I'm supposed to cut out sugar. I'm supposed to this or that, but that's not really what you want. Or you're choosing goals that are too out of reach so that you can fail. To prove to yourself. Like Tiffany was saying, see, I tried. Didn't work for me. And it reinforces all those negative programs that you told us that keep you from having confidence.
Yeah.
And it's so weird that our subconscious mind would do that, but it totally does, because it thinks it's doing something for you. It's protecting you for something. So I want you to consider changing up your goals, and you can think about that on our call, on our break, if that's something that you want to do. I'm seeing a lot of you nod. It's so easy.
Oh, I'm nodding as I'm reading my thing. I mean, it's not like I've done bad. I haven't done bad. You know? I mean, I've gotten most of them every day, but I haven't not gotten all of them every day.
Yeah. And
like this week.
And in order to go to the next day, in order to have the accomplishment, the achievement, the success, the trust in yourself, You have to
Mhm.
get all of them. There's no, oh, there's a lot of that wishy-washiness that's coming through in the call.
Uh-huh.
Um, I feel like you and like Kristen could have a really great conversation about that. Not right now though. Um, but like what I'm really I don't want to spend too much time here, but what I'm really wanting you to see is that is setting you s- that is setting yourself up for more of what you don't want. A feeling that you're failing, that you're not succeeding, to not have confidence. So I want your goals to be like, yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I work from 6:30 to 6:30 every day. And we have coaching calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I can do this. I'm going to do this. This is happening. I have the ability to do it. Not, I do. I want you to have that success. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. Vanessa, how are you doing, honey child? You there? Vanessa.
Sorry, having to mess with my phone trying to figure out which screen would allow me to take the mute off. Ah, hello.
Hi.
Um,
How's it going with your goals?
well, Catherine's in good company. Um, and maybe everyone else too. Because I'm having the hardest time with structuring my day in order to get everything in. Um, I can't even tell you over how long, at least since fall, I have kind of I've allowed basically no structure. I've had little to no structure in my day, and it just it's more of a popcorn kind of situation. So reining that in and creating structure so that things happen has been very, very difficult for me. Um, and it's kind of a similar thing. Like most things get done,
Mhm.
and I have intentionally and unintentionally done some of the goals during the day. But one or two things are going to be missing, or instead of getting 1 hour of movement, I only had 30 minutes. Um, so they've it's been a big challenge figuring out how to make this work in the life that I have. And it's insane because I have more time. Conceptually, I have more time than most people, but my time is very weird. And part of it's also because my ADHD brain forgets a lot. And so just remembering that I'm supposed to be doing something is also a challenge. So I'm trying to figure out how to keep this on the forefront of my awareness so that I can, be aware that, oh, yeah, at some point today we need to do this. How many times have I filled my water glass? Those types
Well,
of things.
I'm curious, Vanessa, would an app where you can put everything in and check it off help?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I've gotten so many apps in the hopes of making them work, like so many people have, and it has been that has resulted in discarded apps. But a checklist might help. It would just have to have alarms or something to keep it in my face. And my most things. And maybe if someone knows kind of when as I'm rambling what that would look like, because since I work nights,
most apps only work on a daytime schedule. And it's like even my carb tracker that I use it's screaming at me at the in my morning, asking me for my dinner, and stuff. So if anyone knows of anything that would be, it would work for people with night schedules, I would be very grateful to know. So
Yeah.
Can I say something, Lori?
Yeah.
Vanessa nailed it for me when she said no structure. That's exactly what my issue is, Vanessa. So you and I have the same issue there. I work days though, but if I set this up with structure in mind, like as far as the food portion goes, like plan the night before instead of like winging it the next, the day up.
Yeah.
And maybe set my alarm like every hour. Hey, did I finish this cup of water and go get another water or whatever, like for you at your job allows you. Maybe you can't do that every hour, go get water, but you know what I mean? Um, but that's exactly it is structure because I could easily, if I put structure into my day and use that chart that Lorraine sent us all, which I thought was great. I mean, just every morning, if I did something in the morning or if I did something towards the end of the night, like for me, let's say I get home and check everything off that I've already done on my list. And this is what's left on my list from that chart that Lorraine, sent us.
Mhm.
I think that would help me to have more structure. So maybe that would do it the same for you. Just having that chart someplace visible. You can see it every morning and every night as you like leave or come home or wake up in the morning, like on your kitchen island or something like that. You know what I mean?
So,
Yeah.
Catherine, I hear you saying that the checklist, like I heard a lot of excitement around using the checklist.
Yeah,
And
I really liked it and I printed it off and now I'm like, what did I do with that darn thing?
yeah. 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 So
I bring it home. I even put it in a folder when I don't know what I do with it.
when you see yourself using that checklist, right?
Yeah.
Checking the things off, morning, night, when you see yourself doing that and having that schedule, how does that feel?
Well, that actually makes me feel good. Like I'm in control. I can do this. It's just a checklist of 6 things, essentially, right?
Mhm.
That I need to check off every day that I did this.
Yeah.
And I think by keeping it visually somewhere that I see it, like on my island or on my kitchen table. I mean, I pass those 2 spots constantly, whether it's morning or night, and then I think it will help me with structure. And I think by me planning my meals per se the night before, that will help me with my structure in that area as far as getting my fruits and vegetables in.
Yeah.
I haven't been having a problem with getting my proteins. I haven't been having a problem with the sugar part, anything like that.
Really?
I've been getting most of my fruits and vegetables. I had a hard time this weekend being out of town, but I have been doing good with
You haven't had any
that.
sugar? You haven't had any sugar?
Trying to think if I had sugar. I don't think I had sugar.
So,
But I've been having fake sugar.
I think
So that like, the protein powder
hey,
and it has like
Catherine,
some type
Catherine,
of sweetener in it. That.
Catherine, I think you said that you could
That
have
was
fake sugar. You can have
right.
fake sugar, you can have honey, you can have maple syrup, right?
Yeah.
It's so I when you said that good feeling, that'll feel really good to structure and have the checklist and mark the things off. How does that feel in your body? That good feeling?
That actually makes me feel like confident that I can do this. I mean, literally, like I said, Vanessa nailed it when she said no structure.
Confident.
That is me.
And that confidence, when you see see yourself or feel it, that confidence, see yourself accomplishing that, where do you notice that in your body?
I mean, in my mind
Mhm,
is where I notice it.
mhm.
You I can do this. It makes it sound easier now that
So
we've
you're
talked
hearing it.
about
So you're hearing it.
I
I can do
yeah,
this. I can do this.
yeah.
I can do this. And what else do you notice when you hear that I can do this? What else do you notice? What do you feel? What do you see? What do you hear along with I can do this? That's right.
I
I
mean, positive reinforcement.
positive reinforcement. And when you tune into your body, either with your eyes closed or open, where do you notice the feeling in your body of that positive reinforcement of that I can do this? When you feel I can do this, you hear that. Where do you feel it in your body?
I mean, I guess the thought is in my head, but then I do also feel, some in my chest probably because it's kind of like relieves some of the
Mm,
maybe stress that it could cause by not meeting these goals and
mm,
not having the structure.
yeah. Yeah. So the structure could create some relief.
Yeah.
And what do you notice in your chest now?
Instead of having that like maybe tension, you
Hmm.
know, from
Yeah.
not having the structure, being organized, completing these,
Like
these
just that,
goals.
just the sensation, Kath. What's happening there now?
It like releases that maybe that stress buildup feeling, that develop in my chest.
Yeah. It's releasing. Good. Stay with that. Stay with that releasing feeling. Just let it all release out. Okay. All right. So Vanessa, I want to go back to you. What's coming up for you now?
Um, I guess I'm just kind of in a place of sort of shame,
Mm,
not sort of shame. And I'm ashamed that, I could have been um, problem solving for myself and figuring out what I needed to do and making it work, realizing while it was happening that, why I wasn't getting things done and making it more of a priority so that um I don't feel the best about that for sure. Um
I
yeah, and just realizing I need to get to the root of why I let my because I part of it I let my schedule get out of the way and I also it just happened. So I feel like I don't have a lot of control over my structure over my schedule, but I really do. And
I
so
like I like that ownership and responsibility there. Yeah. Recognize
so
that you do have the ability to do it and something's getting in the way.
mhm,
Okay. I
yeah.
got pulled off track this week too. So did Tiffany. So did Catherine. You're not alone in the
Hmm.
what's it like to know that you're not the only one?
I appreciate that. Um, I do appreciate knowing that I'm not the only one that's struggling,
Mhm.
that this is difficult for. I think what keeps me in that place of shame is knowing that this isn't a unique situation for me.
Yeah.
Um, Either the forgetting or the not structuring or, not
procrastinating or all the things, so that's still frustrating.
So when you look at your list, um, are the things on your list doable with your schedule, your lifestyle? Are they
I mean,
realistically doable?
so I'm looking and pondering.
You said you were getting 30 minutes of exercise, but not an hour.
Right.
You also had on there 72 ounces of water plus green tea. How's that going?
Yes.
How's that going?
That ebbs and flows, but again, that is definitely something I can control, but I've chosen coffee or I've chosen other things when I could have chosen water. Um, and thought, "Oh, I'll get it on the other end," and the other end doesn't happen. Um, um, the diet's been pretty good. There was, an ice cream moment in the middle, but the ice cream is gone now, so
The only thing I have written
the
down,
good thing I got that out of the way.
I have written down, or is that because the ice cream increased your carbs? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Did that put you over your carb count?
Yes, for that day.
Got it.
Um,
Personal development.
Personal development, again, it's kind of the personal development and then the creativity. It's either one got done or the other one didn't
Mm-hmm.
situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if I would get something done for the house or for myself, I wasn't doing something creative. Um, like the video I did on the sugar thing, I counted that as a creative because it's something I did that was just like a hobby and made me feel good once upon a time. And so that kind of went on the block as that. But yeah, I think those are the things that I have the hardest time and feel like I have the hardest time to make time for both of them because that's an hour.
Yeah.
And
So looking at this, is this doable?
I it, I would have to I would like to decrease my expectations of it. Um because 30 minutes sounds like a long time, and 30 minutes twice a day doing something that isn't actively taking care of my work, sleep, or family, is difficult. So, um, I was kind of feeling like when we were making our goals that it was sort of that 30 minutes was a expectation at least. So, is there flexibility in that? Was I taking that wrong?
Um, oh yeah, it's up to you.
Oh, okay.
I made suggestions, it's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
My concern is that, like I talked to Catherine about changing hers. I think that would be good for her. My concern with you, Vanessa, is that you're putting yourself on the back burner to take care of others. And I see Kristen,
Um,
maybe Kristen agrees. And I see Tiffany.
I mean, possibly. It's it's been challenging and I don't want to get into the weeds of it, but I've had some physical issues this past week. Like literally the day after our class, I was in a serious pain day and got nothing done. I mean, that was like ground zero. I did nothing. Um, I'm having a bit of a pain issue today as well. So, um, that kind of just like mentally throws me off whenever my body's being a dick and not letting me
Mhm.
have a minute.
What will doing these goals, consistently doing these goals, what will that do for your pain?
And the movement will certainly help, but I'm sure the hydration wouldn't hurt either. That would be good.
Mhm.
Um,
So so you're telling me that doing these things will make the pain better?
Theoretically, I'm trying to figure out what will make the pain better at this point.
Mhm.
But it's not going to. I don't think it's going to hurt the situation at all. It's definitely needs to be something I am more consistent about. So that's that. I mean, I have no intention of taking those things off the list, or I just may lower my expectation of the movement, or at least on paper, put 30 minutes instead of an hour. Because I know I'm going to get an hour on Thursdays that the dance class is an hour long. Um,
Mhm.
and most things that I would do are probably going to take longer than 30 minutes. It's just visually, I'm looking at it and it's big.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, I went from zero to big. How am I going to do this? This is a lot.
Yeah.
So I think
I hear ya. I hear ya.
making making it look like less, or giving myself more leeway.
Mhm.
Like, if I am like, oh shit, I didn't get the personal development thing done. Let me go on Indeed real quick and throw out a few applications. That can take 15 minutes. And I'm not like, well, I don't have 30 minutes or the attention span for it or whatever. So I'm not going to do it. It's going to feel more doable at that point.
Got it. So are you saying you want to adjust the walking and the personal development?
I think for the walking, the personal development, and the creativity, the walking or the movement, put that at 30 minutes.
Mhm.
Personal development and creativity at 15.
Okay. All right. How do you feel about that?
I think that will feel better because I mean, right now I'm looking at, it just feels like, how am I going to shove 2 hours of these things I not only have to do, but I also have to prepare for and plan for and blah, blah, blah. It just seems like a lot. And um, yeah, I'd feel better having a little bit of room in there.
Okay. And so then I want to ask you, are you in true choice around these goals? And we haven't really talked about true choice, but you and I have talked about that a bit in the past.
Hmm.
Are you in true choice around these?
I believe so. I mean,
Like
um,
you were choosing these. This is what you want.
correct.
Great. Okay.
Yes.
All right. What's happening with the shame right now?
It's it feels better. Like I'm not feeling quite as shameful. Um, I'm not feeling as triggered or anything around that. So that's definitely feels better knowing that, that I wasn't, oh shit, I can't do this because of all the reasons you can't do things, and disappointing people and being the rock in the group. So yeah, I feel better about it.
We're going to take a little break now, and then we're going to do um a little exercise later. And so you can come back to that shame feeling. I'll be coaching you all to get in touch, with those feelings. You all had a little something come up. Um like whether it was just like Kristen's was like, like around the resistance, like you each had like some sort of thing come up, and we're going to do um, a practice around that later. So just know that we'll come back to that, and you can work with that shame a little bit. Okay, Vanessa?
Yep. Thank you.
All right. So, um, how's a 10-minute break? Is 10 minutes good?
Great.
Enough
Yeah,
time for
sounds good.
your fruit and veg in, Kat?
Yeah.
I use a water app and I shared it in the group. It's very satisfying for me because every time you add your water, it like fills your body up so you can see your body being hydrated. So I put it in the
Cool.
Facebook's chat groups.
Okay, thanks.
Awesome.
Yep.
Kristen has a group, an app that she's been using too. So, Kristen, if you could put that in the group,
Sure.
like you don't have to do it right now, but yeah.
Yes, I will add that. I did have a question there. Um, I'm wondering if it would be helpful for other people. I know it would be helpful for me if you talked a little bit about the sort of like when we were discussing sort of how Catherine might be benefiting from the confusion.
Mm-hmm.
What occurred to me was that the draw or the pull of the familiar and how hard it is to break the habit of something that's familiar, even if, on paper, it doesn't look like you're getting anything from it, but it could very well be. Like, so I just thought it'd be interesting if you kind of elaborated a little bit on how hard it is to break free from what is familiar, even if it's, not really serving you.
Yeah, yeah. So our minds, our systems, we crave familiarity and comfort. And what is familiar is comfortable. And so if I if I were a really structured person and I have to have everything a certain way and do things a certain way to get to have that structure disrupted would be really hard for me. Because I have been more along the lines of Vanessa traditionally, my life of like, oh my God, I can't get myself to do this stuff, no structure, flow. I know what it's like to feel that shame and oh my God, something's wrong with me. Why can't I just get myself to do it? And that was a little side note. And I've been making like really good strides. I told you all about how I told you last week how I was in real shadowy areas and I said, "Oh, wait, I can create something different. I can create something new." What had become familiar to me was to be spinning. It was like Groundhog's Day, just spinning and directionless. And even though I had direction. I had this business plan, this business program that I spent a whole bunch of money for. I just couldn't get myself to do it. And in retrospect, looking back, what was familiar for me was to be spinning around in a well of sadness, self pity. And consciously, I could say, well, of course, I don't want that. I know what it's like to be the rainbow and be happy and floaty and, love and light all the time. I'm not supposed to be here, but I'd gotten into a rut that was very much like my childhood, right? Things activated stuff and then those familiar feelings of I'm hopeless, I'm helpless, I have no power, nothing I do is going to matter anyway. Why bother? Those familiar things came up. And even in launching this program, right? This is new. It's different, right? Completely the opposite of familiar and comfortable. Every time I take myself into like the next thing, the next new thing, I get freak out. I get freak out mode. And I'll put something out there and I'll be like, "Oh my God, I hope no one signs up." Because it's more comfortable for me to be in a small place and not putting myself out there and not putting my voice out there and not living my dreams and instead just be comfortable, and safe, and not take myself on a big way, be small. So and that's all of us.
Yeah.
That's how our minds work. It's a survival mechanism. It's built into all of us. And that's the drive towards efficiency. That's why, you know, necessity is the mother of all invention, right? And so all of these inventions and technology, it's all to make our lives easier. It's all to make it more comfortable because we all want that on some level. And so it's difficult to say, no, I'm going to lean into struggle and challenge and uncertainty. And I was using uncertainty earlier in a different way than the confusion program. Because we want to embrace uncertainty, right?
Mhm.
But not confusion.
Right.
They like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like that's one that I see a lot with people. Um, and that's familiar. Not knowing, not having the answers becomes familiar rather than, let me sit in the discomfort of not knowing until I do know, until I have an answer, until I get clarity. And our minds will come and start bringing in stories and all kinds of distractions. And let me talk about this and talk about that. We go into justifying ourselves, explaining ourselves, defending ourselves. We don't look at it as defending, but that's what we're doing. We're defending ourselves or we're blaming. So justify, which can be explaining, right? When we're justifying ourselves, well, let me explain. There's a reason behind it. Defending ourselves, like, no, that's not what's really going on. And then we can go into explaining there as well. And then we can blame. Well, it was because of the trip. It was because of work. It was because of this person. It's because of my schedule. Right. And so I was going to talk about this more after break, getting into talking about ownership and responsibility.
Mhm.
And we want to be in alignment with our inner compass so that we're facing true north. And almost all of us until we do the inner work, our compass is not facing true north. It's facing magnetic north, which is where we think we should be facing. What we think all of our conditioning and programming that we're supposed to do, all of our strategies that we've created over the years in order to get our needs met. And it'll get clear exactly what that looks like. But we have this false self, the strategic self, that until we do the inner work, until we start getting really honest with ourselves and the things that are motivating us and the things that are getting in the way, we're letting blame, shame, justify, we're letting excuses get in the way of the life that we actually want, of feeling the way about ourselves that we want to feel, rather than feeling shame, rather than feeling, not good enough, not smart enough, not capable enough, hopeless, helpless. Why do I always get in my way? Like all the critical voices in our head, that becomes familiar. That is familiar. And that's so familiar that we believe that it's true.
Mm.
And we think that we are the voices. We mistake the voices in our head for truths. We mistake the voices in our head for ourselves. And a big part of this process that I'm teaching you all to connect to sensation in the body is it's getting away from that voice in the head. We want to explore that voice, but we don't want to identify with that voice because that voice is a liar. You get to choose who you are. You get to choose what you want in life, what you're capable of. And that's when I was talking about true choice earlier with Vanessa. And I know it can feel daunting when you failed and failed and failed you're doing this. And we're going to work through this together. We're going to move through this together. Okay.
Thank you.
Was that clear? I feel like I went a lot of different directions.
So I think it was really clear. One of the things that was kind of a big realization for me recently was that, kind of these negative states can feel familiar, therefore comfortable, and therefore that's what I am. So when Vanessa and others were mentioning shame, it's like, yeah, I can identify with shame being like my comfy place, right? Like, so when something gets hard, I can just revert back to, well, I'm ashamed, but I'm so used to being ashamed of myself that it's almost like that's my little corner I go to run into. And so it's,
Shame becomes our friends.
yeah. And, it is very counterintuitive, right? No one thinks that they want to feel shame or feel ashamed of themselves, but
It's comfort,
anyway,
like the comfort food.
it's what you know. So, right, exactly.
Comfort food of emotions, right? Let me just
Mm.
go back into this little hole
Right.
and
Yeah.
feel like a total idiot, a total fuck up, a total mess up, a total whatever,
Yeah.
And that's comfortable. It's familiar. And on some level, if we're repeating it, we're getting something out of it. Does that make sense, Catherine? When I'm like, oh, you're getting something out of it. We are getting something out of it if that is what we're continuing to choose.
Mhm.
And we're not able to mindset our way out of it, though. We're not able to, because that's all conscious mind. Oh, I'm just going to tell myself a positive affirmation. Oh, we got to get to the root of it. Because there's that law of reverse effect where you can actually strengthen it. Because it's like, oh, you can't tell me what to do. It's like, no, we're going to be communicating, with these parts of us. And so I want to add something real quick. I mentioned that, when I'm like taking myself on a new level, I get the fear, the shame, like the negative thoughts. And because everything I'm going to be teaching you all, I've been incorporating into my own life, that in the launching of this program, I mean, I definitely had a lot of stumbles along the way with technology, with my web person, ghosting me and like, oh, I got to figure this out now on my own. And like lots of things came in the way. That's like, just quit, just don't do it. No one wants this anyway. Like no one's appreciating, like no one's even like, you sent out one email and no one signed up yet. No one wants because of that one email, and
Yeah.
because I've been doing the stuff that I'm teaching you, I was like, oh, look at that. Look at that. I have compassion for you and I can hold you. I can love you, but I'm not buying into this. This is fear. This is lack. This is scarcity. And I am not entertaining that in my life. I'm moving forward. And I think 75 hard has a lot to do with it too. I am amazed at myself at how excited what used to be fear is excitement. And fear, let me clarify that. Excitement and anxiety are the same emotion. They're the same emotion. They're both a form of fear. What's different is the interpretation we give it. So they're both fear, but anxiety has all of the negative thoughts, like I was cycling through that I told you about. Excitement is like bungee jumping out of an airplane to parachute. It's fear, but it's choice. It's exciting. It's like watching a scary movie. We are intentionally activating our nervous systems for the fun of it.
Yeah.
And that's what this process has felt like for me, as opposed to my last one that I launched in May, that I spent 6 months. Vanessa was helping me with that one. I spent 6 months preparing for that. And I was not in alignment. I was in fear. Fear was driving me. It was, I have to do this. I'm throwing all of my money into the systems and the programs. This has to work. We got to make this happen. Totally different motivation than I have this thing I want to give to the world. I'm lit up about this. I am psyched. And I think this will make a really powerful change in people's lives. And I'm excited to do the work to put this out there. Yet both of those are fear, right? Both of those were gifts of fear. And so that's why we want to, like, when we feel the heaviness, the tension in the chest, Catherine, we don't want to just go and give ourselves a positive thought. Let me not think about that. Let me not feel that. We want to go, what is that? What is that? What's in there? All right. All right.
Okay.
Take a 10-minute break. So we'll be back at like well, what time is it?
I
8
have another one.
8:11.
Okay.
8:11. 8:12. 8:12. And see you back then. All right. JB.
Hello.
Hello. Hmm. Um, before we go further, are there any questions so far about like anything that um any of the concepts that we've been talking about? No questions? Um, all right. So I want to talk.
No, I think you did a good job explaining. All right.
Yeah. I want to talk about some things and then I want to do an exercise. Um, so we've been talking about ownership and responsibility, right? So I'm curious, who here watched the intro video that I posted that was just kind of like talking about like the agreements, how all of this work? Anyone? Tiffany?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So one of the things that I talked about there was speaking from I and owning our experience. Whose dog is that? Is that Tiffany? Okay, okay. Um, so so when we own our experience, one way that we do that is speaking from I. And like if we if we were in our relationship course right now, there would be a lot around speaking from I because when you're talking to someone, when there's a conflict, when there's, something you want to resolve, you want to make sure that you're speaking from I rather than the pointing the finger because that's blame. You did this, you made me feel this. When we're taking ownership, we realize that we're responsible for our experience. We're responsible for our lives. When we point the finger at the person, at the situation, at all of the things out there that are causing me to not have what I want, then that's called victim. And you can either be in responsible or you can be in victim, right? So when I'm in responsible, yeah, there's all kinds of things that happen. There was a big storm that came through here. And very often what happens with the storms is I get a bunch of water that comes in and that I'll have to take care of that and it'll slow me down. Things happen in life, right? But if I'm not taking responsibility for, let's say, oh, I was late because I had to take care of this leaking before it, messed up my cedar closet, the floor of my cedar closet, like Um, but I'm not taking responsibility. Responsibility looks like I apologize. I was late. I know I said I would be here 15 minutes ago and I'm not, and I take responsibility for that. Rather than, oh, there's all these things, all these reasons. Now I'm a victim to circumstances. And also if I am not setting intentions and goals, then I'm a victim to that floating. Oh, I'm just floating. And I'm a victim to the circumstances that are happening in the moment rather than, well, I am a creator. I am creating, I'm moving forward. I'm not just letting the flow of life take me wherever it's going to take me. Another way that we come from ownership and responsible is um and this can be used as a weapon, so I want to be I'm going to say this and then I'm going to say something else after it. No one makes you feel anything. So we often say, well, you made me feel bad. You made me feel worthless. You made me feel like I didn't matter. And from a relational perspective, we don't want to be telling our partners and people that we care about, I don't make you feel anything. That's where this gets toxic, you know. Um, if it's our partner, we want to have compassion and empathy and curiosity. They might not be using the right words, but we want to explore that. And we want it, and responsible on our part looks like finding something that we did that contributed to the situation. Even if it looks like I had nothing to do with that, there's always something that we can take responsibility for. Even if it is, I must have not communicated that properly. I'll make sure that I communicate properly. Use better communication in the future to make sure that we're clear on whatever it is. If we had more time, I would have us come up with some scenarios and talk about the difference between victim and responsible, but I don't want to do that right now. And so we're responsible for how we react to things. So life happens. Things are going to happen. I'm not responsible for my basement leaking. And that's where we were talking last week. And I was like, oh, this mirror principle can get taken too far. Like I'm the center of the universe and everything is happening because my vibration is either low or high. No, I live in the Midwest. Half the basements leak when we get, a big storm, right? Um, there's so many things going on in this universe that have nothing to do with me. And yet, my energy is a part of the universe. I'm connected to the universe. I am part and parcel. And so I do impact it by how I show up, by how I react. So when if I wake up in the morning and here's an example that actually happened. I was making my smoothie and I hadn't put the lid on my expensive green powder and I grabbed it and it spilled all over the floor. Right? And I actually ended up spilling like 4 or 5 things over the course of 3 days, which is kind of weird. Um and and so there was the initial right. And then wait, I'm not going to sit in that. I'm not going to stew in that. Because if we let that turn into something bigger than it is, the fact is, I didn't screw the lid on and then it spilled on the floor. What my brain could have done was, you're so stupid. I can't believe you did that. You're always doing stuff like that. Or why does this stuff always happen to me? And then it creates this cascade of events throughout our day because now our energy is in a funky place. And then we just attract more of that because we're in a funky place. And then we're affecting the people around us because we're in a funky place instead of an open, loving place, like authentically, not just wearing a role or a mask. So how we respond makes a difference. That's what we're responsible for. Responsible. And you're either responding or reacting. So think about reaction is a knee jerk. It's the programming. It's the conditioning that we talked about. It's the comfort. It's the familiarity. It just happens. And you don't even realize it. Yet when you become aware of, oh, look, that's what I do. I spill stuff and I get hard on myself and I let shame come in and I start telling myself a bunch of negative stuff about myself. Or I do it to someone else. I do it to my partner. I do it to my kids, to my coworkers. I kick the dog. That's the externalizing, blaming. So we tend to have a default. We either blame everything out there or we blame ourselves. And that's the realm of shame, right? But we have our own programming. And so when we can practice these presence techniques that I'm teaching you, what's happening right now? Oh, look at that. There's shame. There's shame in here. Oh, there's shame right here in my gut. I'm feeling like I just want to crawl into a hole. And I'm telling myself this negative storyline. And if I don't do something about this, it's gonna sit with me, right? And so I'm teaching the process of what to do about this. And the first thing is the awareness of it. Okay, I noticed this. Okay, what is this? And instead of doing what we normally do, which is to push it away, distract ourselves, intellectualize it, blame, we're gonna get curious about it and we're gonna say more. Let me feel this some more. Let me see it some more. Let me explore this some more. And then we're going to learn about ourselves in the process. And then eventually we'll just notice it. Like I was telling you earlier, oh, look, I noticed that. Isn't that cute? I'm not going to entertain that behavior though. Right? Like you would a child having a temper tantrum. You can have, loving, oh, you seem frustrated. You seem sad. And then at other times you can just be like, yeah, don't make a big deal out of it. You just kind of ignore it. Right? I see you. And no, you don't get to have that cookie. That's so sad that you're sad. But I'm not caving in. You don't get to win. I win. I choose. And that's true choice. And from that place of true choice, that's when we get to align with our magnetic versus our true north. Our true north rather than our magnetic north. The magnetic north is all the shoulds. All the shoulds that we're not even aware of. It's the things that are coming from our parents, our teachers, society, from our religions, anything out there that are like, well, expectations. Like just think about what are some expectations of how women are supposed to be? Just throw it out there.
Good. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Good. Nice. What else?
Easing.
Pleasing.
Giving. Over giving. Generous.
Pleasing over giving. Mm-hmm. What
Self.
else? What was that last one?
Selfless.
Selfless. Yeah.
Nurturing.
Yeah.
Nurturing, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when we're all those things, very often what happens is someone gets sacrificed,
Yeah.
right? And is it the kids that get sacrificed? Is it the husband that gets sacrificed? Or I should say the partner? Not usually, right? We're speaking stereotypical generalities. In this example, I want to be clear about that because everyone's different. But as a whole, this is how women have been conditioned to respond to the world or react to the world and to behave, right? This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be this way. I'm not supposed to have my own wants, needs, desires. There's even so much stuff around sexuality. I'm not supposed to want to receive pleasure. I'm not supposed to be into like a kink like that. I'm not, like I'm supposed to be this like holier than thou kind of character. And so that is our magnetic north rather than our true north. That is our false self rather than our true self or our uh, authentic self. And so this all starts at birth. So we have two main needs when we come into this world. We all do. And one is to connect. The other is authenticity. So what are ways that we connect when we come into this world as a baby?
Well, you bond with your
Mhm. Predominantly your mom. Mhm. Babies are little parasites, right?
yes.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. And what happens if a baby is not able to bond with a caregiver and connect with a caregiver? What happens to that baby?
They don't develop appropriately and have typically emotional and mental issues leading on to their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. We all know that through psychology. And then what's something even worse that can happen to that baby if it doesn't connect?
It won't
They can
thrive.
die.
Yeah, it'll die. And in there was this study done long ago. I don't even know if it was a study, but moreover a notice in these Russian um hospitals where there were a lot
Mm.
of orphans, um and the babies were so many babies were dying even though they were getting their nutritional needs. And so the, doctors and nurses were trying to figure it out, and they realized that the babies that were not getting touch, that weren't getting connection, that they were just withering away. And so,
Yeah. I had a boss that actually adopted from Russia,
mhm,
and they uh got their daughter has a very, very, very challenging life, and it is very hard for them to bond with her because she doesn't understand how to do that. It just wasn't given to her, and it causes a lot of conflict. But you saying that, I'm like, yeah, that's a prime
mhm.
example.
So we have to connect,
Mhm.
right? And so the second thing that we do is the second need is authenticity. And so how does a baby express authenticity?
Just does what it wants. It cries.
It cries. So when a baby is angry, what does it do?
Cries.
It cries. Yeah. And anyone that's seen a baby, they get angry, right? Do they say, "Oh no, I'm not supposed to get angry. That's bad emotion. I'm not supposed to feel that.
I'm not allowed to feel that.
I'm not allowed to feel anger, sadness, shame, whatever the emotion is." No. They feel it, they express it. That's authenticity. They feel it, they express it. So then something happens. As we go about the world, we start to not get our needs met. Whether that's connection, whether that's authenticity. And we have to choose between those two needs. And usually what gets chosen is connection over authenticity. I need to connect or I will die, right? If a baby doesn't find a breast or a bottle from someone, it dies. And so that's built into our system. That's built into our biology, right? That's why women stay in I should say, that's why people will stay in abusive relationships rather than being on their own, because of that fear of being alone. Is like that fear of, if I don't have connection, I'll die. And they'll get out of a bad relationship and end up in another one as soon as they can, because of that fear, it's this biological primal fear of not being connected, of being alone. And even if you look back at tribal times, even if we're not babies, if we're adults, what was your chance of survival if you got ejected from the tribe? If you did something wrong, they didn't like it, and you got ejected from the tribe. How hard would life be? How well would you be able to take care of yourself?
You wouldn't.
Yeah, very slim, right? We needed tribe in order to survive. And so it's built into our biology and our DNA. It's an instinct. We can override that, though, because we don't live in tribal times anymore, and we're not little babies. We are not dependent on our parents anymore for survival. We're not dependent on a tribe for survival. Someone could live a very great life disconnected from almost everyone and everything if they wanted to at this point. They could have everything delivered. They could work online. They could have very little contact with other people if they wanted. And if it was in alignment, they could have a very happy life, because we don't have those same needs anymore. But to go back to the authenticity versus connection piece, we'll sacrifice authenticity in order to have connection. We'll sacrifice our voice, our wants, our desires. Let me be the little girl that is easy, that maybe takes care of mommy and daddy. Let me achieve. Let me make mommy and daddy proud. Let me do what mommy and daddy want me to do rather than what I want. Over time, we learn that yelling out in anger is frowned upon. And we do need to be socialized to a certain extent, right? But pushing things down and not being able to feel our emotions is not the way to do it. And that's where so many of us are. We're not our authentic selves. We're playing a role that we were taught to play, a role that benefited us because it got us connection, it got us safety, it got us protection, it got us acceptance. Maybe we learned to be a certain way in order to get friends, in order to get attention from men. I feel weird because it's all, I'm just talking to women here. So it's all, and I'm assuming heterosexuality in it as well. So to get attention from other people, I want to be, make sure I'm inclusive in the way that I'm speaking. Because if I get attention from other people, if I get praise from other people, if I get validation from other people, what does that do for me?
Like that dopamine hit, it tells you, like, yeah, it makes that programming right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's also making me feel good for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But what happens when I don't have that external source? that external supply.
And there's nothing.
I'm left with voice in my head,
Mm-hmm.
right? The default mode of all of, critical negative things I think about myself, and the way that I, compare myself to other people, and the ways I think that I'm less than. And then I become dependent on other people to tell me who I am. Let me do whatever I need to do in order for you to give me that praise, that approval, the acceptance, the sense of belonging, to keep my job, And so much of our actions become appeasing and pleasing other people rather than pleasing ourselves. And that's why we put our creativity on the back burner, our goals on the back burner, our health on the back burner. And then for, many of us that, have become empty nesters, or we don't have that relationship anymore, or we don't have the whatever anymore. It's like, what am I supposed to do with my time now and my energy? Because I was pouring into all these people around me. I was pouring into my job, and now I'm retired. I was pouring into my children, and they don't need me anymore. I was pouring into my partner, and we're not together anymore. Like, what am I supposed to do? And that's when people get this existential dread. Really, like, I have no idea who I am if I'm not being what other people want me to be, if I'm not meeting other people's expectations, if I'm not playing this role. Yeah. So this tuning into ourselves, it's helping us to get back to that essence of who we are, that you came into this world as, that authentic expression of yourself, what you want. And it's this two-way street, because it's, your intention, your wants, your desires, yet like you experience when you're communicating with your subconscious mind, like your subconscious mind wants things too. And your subconscious mind connects to super consciousness, God, the universe, right? When we get open, we're opening ourselves to guidance, to that support that you were talking about, Tiffany, the support of the universe. And what does the universe want for me and from me? How am I here to serve? And I used to think it was like one or the other, either or. Either is what the universe wanted from me or what I wanted from me. And like, which is it supposed to be? Like, the personal growth says this, but it's both. It's two-way communication. It's collaboration. Yeah. We don't have to we don't have to choose one or the other. And we can have this and thinking rather than either or. So we can be connected to other people and giving to other people. And we can also be connected to ourselves and giving to ourselves. And we can have boundaries and choose not to give to other people and only give to ourselves. And then we can open those boundaries, and those can be different from other people. And it's this energy of and, rather than it having to be one way or another. So these roles that we played, these are strategies that we came up with. We came up with strategies to get our need of connection, of safety, of belonging. And what happens when you ignore your true north?
Despair.
What else?
All the shame.
Yup. There you go. What else?
The discomfort and the disease, like the disease.
Yes. Dis-ease.
Um,
We get sick.
Yep.
And exhaustion is a common one, that I hear because it's exhausting trying to be someone that you're not. And so as you continue this practice of connecting yourself and feeling into yourself, um, like we had this 5-minute practice is what I asked you to do this last week. And I want you to be tuning in throughout your day. And I know it can be hard to remember. So maybe set an alarm that goes off every once in a while and just check in and notice, what am I noticing now? Take a breath and then you can go about your day. And notice, am I feeling energized or am I feeling drained? Am I feeling overwhelmed or lost? Am I feeling excited or am I feeling anxiousness, fear? Are there critical programs that are lack and limitation? Or am I thinking in terms of possibility and I can do this. This is available to me. I do have what it takes to make this happen. And so this awareness is the first piece. Noticing, what's happening and attuning your true north. So before we go into this exercise, are there any questions around any of that, or is that clear? Here. So one thing, I'm looking at my notes here. I don't know if I said this, but there's a difference between responsibility and blame and fault. So I found that so often when people come into, this like responsibility teachings, it's like, oh, I'm either responsible or I'm victim. And then they start blaming and shaming themselves. I was responsible for that. Oh my God, I see how I contributed to that. If you look at the recording from Parissa, she didn't get into the details, but she had an awareness. Like last week, she had her story. She came in with a lot of victim, like, oh my God, I've been a victim this past year. And then when I did some coaching with her and it dawned on her, she's like, oh my gosh, I was not a victim. I actually was responsible in this way, in this way, in this way. And she started feeling bad. She started feeling sadness and guilt, right? Responsible does not mean fault. It doesn't mean you're at fault or to blame. And if you start doing that to yourself, you're going in the wrong direction. Responsible just means going, I played a part in this and I can learn the lesson and I can do differently. I can do things differently from here on out. And you might do the same thing again and again and again until what is familiar becomes unfamiliar. And until what is unfamiliar, this place where you're going, starts to become more familiar. If you allow the negative emotions to take over and spin you out, it'll take you out of the game and you won't get here. You won't get to where it is that you want to go. And so be aware of what's coming up. Use these practices to be with it and then Catch and release. Catch and release. All right. So, we're going to build upon what we did last week. And each of you had a little unconscious moment come up in your shares. So, Kristen, remember, it was like you remember that?
Yep.
Remember? Yeah. And Tiffany, you remember yours? And Vanessa, I'm sure you remember yours. You still there, Vanessa? I just want to make sure.
I'm here, and actually, I don't.
Oh, the shame.
Oh, today. Okay, yes,
The
shame.
shame. The shame. Catherine, you remember yours?
What was mine?
There was a moment, Kristen, Tiffany, do you remember?
For confusion.
There was the confusion. It seemed like there was a nonverbal. Oh, right at the beginning, when I asked you, how are your goals, Catherine? I actually asked you guys this question because I wanted to trigger you. That's how we see what's in there. Okay. When you squeeze an orange, what comes out?
Juice?
What kind of juice?
Orange juice?
Yeah. Apple juice doesn't come out?
No,
No. How come apple juice doesn't come out?
because it's an orange, not an apple.
Because it's an orange, right? So when we squeeze Tiffany, what comes out of Tiffany?
Tiffany juice.
Tiffany juice. Yep. When we squeeze Kristen, we get Kristen juice. When we squeeze Catherine, we get Catherine juice. So yeah, so I led with that to see what would come out. And so I asked you, Catherine, so how were you with your goals? And you went, and I said, that right there, I want to explore that. Right. And then there's also the confusion piece. We weren't able to get a real somatic, there was some in the heart. Yeah, we got down to the heart. Yeah. So this like, this feeling inside, what that brings up, right? The storyline. Oh, I did it again. Or the excuse, externalizing, right? I want you to feel that and you're going to notice what comes up. Okay. And so this is called a nest meditation. And you're going to be able to use this throughout the next week. It's just adding some more pieces in. And this is bringing in emotions and it's bringing in your thoughts. And then there's another piece, but we'll talk about that later. In the chats, I put an emotion wheel. So go ahead and click on that. So it'll pop up on your browser and then you can have it with you. You can print it off later. There's different emotion wheels with different emotions in the center. I've played with different ones. This is the one I'm playing with now. And if you wanted to pull that up during this, if you wanted to, look at it, you could, but if you don't have to, I would say don't for now. You see where we are with time. Okay, we're doing good on time. All right. So this is like a meditation, but not a meditation, just like last week. With meditation, you're focusing on your breath and you're focusing on letting your thoughts go. And there's sometimes mantra or other things. This is more about welcoming in your experience and noticing what is happening here and having a somatic experience. Somatic meaning body, what you're feeling in your body. And so in your body, you will feel physical sensations. Last week we practiced the physical sensations. When I have this thought, when I have this feeling, What do I notice in my body? Where is that? So I really want you to make sure that you're zoning in on the physical sensations. That's the one that can elude people the most, that they don't get, that can be harder for them to get. And so it takes more practice because we're so used to being up here in the head. And if you watch Thursday's replay, Carissa talks about that. And so what am I feeling in my body, in my heart, in my gut, right? Anywhere in my body, but those tend to be the places we feel things a lot, in the throat. And then there's emotions. Emotions are tied to the physical sensation. They can kind of feel different. They can feel the same. It kind of flows. And then there's energy. And so some people can express like just feeling an energy in their body. And so energy can fall under physical sensations and emotions, right? So it can kind of feel like energy, the sensations, the emotion. And so emotions are energy in motion. Emotions are energy in motion. So when we allow our emotions to move through us, then we're letting energy move through us. If we don't allow our emotions to move through us, then they become stagnant, solid, hard. And that's how trauma lives in our body. And we can repeat those things over and over again. And people have PTSD, right? We want to feel and we want to soften, relax, let it go. But for now, I'm going to take you through the process of feeling it, noticing what's there, right? And then there's the thoughts. And so I want you to notice the thoughts. When you can notice the thoughts, then suddenly you're separate from the thoughts. It's like you're looking at them or hearing them rather than this is who I am. This is my life. And that's like identifying me. That's my identity. Right. And so you want to be able to step back and watch and observe and notice without being it, without being that identity. And that might seem a little confusing or esoteric. Just gonna go with it. One way that you can disidentify from your thoughts is by saying this little line: the story I'm telling myself is. The story I'm telling myself is. Okay. And then I'm also going to walk you through this as we're doing it. All right. So go ahead and get comfortable. You want to stay seated though. You don't want to lay down. And depending on who you are, you might like to have your eyes open, but generally you can connect in more when your eyes are closed. But some people might dissociate more, move out of their bodies more if their eyes are closed. So do what feels good for you, eyes open or eyes closed. Let's take a breath. Let that out. Now I want you to think about that trigger, that thing, that resistance, that shameful feeling or thought, that thing where it causes you to like hold your breath for a second and all of a sudden you're not breathing. And notice your experience of yourself, your emotion, if you're able to name them, the sensations in your body, whatever's arising, and the thought, the storyline. What do you take that to mean when you're in that? You just notice. And up until now, we haven't been directing the focus of your attention in your body. I haven't been telling you, focus your attention here, focus your attention there. But I want to give you a process to use because a process and the structure can be helpful. And so we're going to do a body scan just to see how you feel in these parts of your body, the sensation, and then any emotions and thoughts that come up. Starting with your head, your face. What's happening in your face, in your head? What's going on with your jaw? Your forehead? Your teeth and mouth? The muscles in and around your eye? Your whole scalp and head? What do you feel? What do you notice? And as you do this, your subconscious mind might bring images, symbols, colors. You might think back to some past event that was similar to what you're experiencing now. You might hear something. Allow yourself to experience your experience, whatever your experience is. And now bring your focus to your neck and your throat. And the tops of your shoulders, your traps, into your shoulder blades, your upper back, your chest and rib cage, your arms and hands, moving down your torso to your mid belly and mid and inside of you, your low back and belly, noticing whatever arises, your hips, glutes, pelvis, your thighs, your knees, calves, and your feet. Scan up and down, noticing what's happening now. And now take a nice deep breath. And allow yourself to bring softening, relaxation, sense of letting go, of empty. And invite that to happen. Whether you're saying less or soften, seeing it flow out, inviting your body, which is a part of your subconscious mind, allowing that softening that might feel like melting. If it doesn't happen, that's okay too. Letting that invitation to let go just a little bit. Find your jaw more relaxed, your neck relaxed, your forehead and shoulder supple. Your breathing full, deep, and easy. And notice what's your experience now. Scan your body, either from head to toe or toe to head or bouncing around. Just notice, what are the sensations, emotion, thought now. Now, become aware of your hands and your fingers. Start to breathe, bring some little movements to your hands. Become aware of your feet and toes and add some little movement. And any other movements that want to come to your body. Feel your seat on your chair. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Yeah. So we're just a few minutes over time. I'd like to get one word, how that was for you. One word or phrase. Kristen, would you like to go first?
Sure. So I can't do it in one word, but mostly what I noticed is beyond sort of the chronic spots that are tense or, cause some pain or what have you. There's just sort of this overall kind of low key tension. So I notice it in like the muscles in my face
Yeah.
when my attention is directed to it. So it makes me realize how many parts of my body I'm actually holding. And this is also building on what we did last week. That the message that I got, and this has been with me since then, um, is that it's not so much about holding on, but it's holding in the energy of holding in, containing myself. So this exercise, I was feeling again every little tiny muscle, how it's also having that energy of holding
That
in.
holding pattern.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to invite you to do is, as you're checking in, you want to be checking in as much as possible throughout the day. Okay? The more you can be present, tuning in, where can I soften? Soften, soften, soften. Soften, soften, soften. I could see it. I could see it when you're
Yeah.
there. Like everything was up here.
Yeah.
Like you're holding your breath.
Mhm.
Soften, breathe. Breathe deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vanessa, what about you?
Um, kind of in the middle of it, I can't do the one word either. You know me better than that. Um, I had to like, okay, I'm supposed to be focusing on what it feels like when I'm in shame. And almost instantly I could feel my breath tighten and sort of that anxious feeling kind of go up my throat. There's just the tightening and pressure.
Mhm.
of it, which is definitely very, very familiar to me. Um,
And what happened?
and
What happened with that?
well, it kind of starts cycling through the different things that I feel shame about and I find shameful. But I was able to, by the end of it, kind of relax it and at least move it through my body. You know, the stuff is still there, but
Mm,
I was able to let my body take a break.
good. And if you wanted to stay after tonight and work through that a little bit more, we can. If anyone else wants to stay after, I'm more than willing to do that. Yeah. Well, Catherine, what about you?
Relaxed.
Yeah. What about that when you were tuning into that, like, how are your goals where you went,
No, I kind of flushed that.
you flush that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's right. Well, I'm glad that you were able to get to a relaxed state. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of work today. You've had a lot of challenge.
Yeah.
And Tiffany?
My one word would be informative. Um, for me, it was pushing myself, and uh, I really had a lot happening in my forehead and my throat, and which made me just feel like I'm not using my voice and
Mhm.
speaking what needs to be spoken. Um, and it was interesting because when you were having us like relax, my body did relax. And then there was all kinds of like pain that was like, we're not in that. We have to be like not hidden, is what it felt like.
Look at
I
that.
felt like I was like hiding as like my body was relaxing. And then it was like, no, it feels much better when we stand tall, I guess.
Good notices.
Yeah.
Notices. All right. Well, I will send you all some stuff. Mm, and I'll see you on Thursday.
Wonderful. Thank
I
you.
think I think we have the online portal figured out, so I'll be sending you some invitations to that, and hopefully it all works seamlessly for you. If not, reach out to me. All right.
Okay. All right.
You,
Thank
All
you.
Lorraine.
right.
Thanks. Good night.
Welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.